Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to another video. This is a reaction to the 15 countries people think that are fake. I mean, there are a lot of conspiracy theories for countries that people don't think are real. Like, I've seen Australia as one. Basically, if someone lives far from a country, I feel like they just assume it's fake or whatever, which is always quite funny, but at the same time, I wonder where it actually comes from because I don't really understand it. But this could be a fun reaction. It's not really the sort of videos that this channel does, so maybe it's not even to do with that. But I mean, if you're saying countries are fake, the places like Australia, I've seen conspiracy theorists say, oh, they don't think Australia's real, or just this and that, and just different countries. But we're going to check this out. Hopefully you're going to enjoy. Links are also in the description to my Patreon, where you can see reactions to movies, TV series that I've reacted to recently, or I'm going to react to in the future. I've recently reacted to the Shawshank Redemption film, and my god, it was an absolute classic. I'm going to be reacting to Forrest Gump soon. I've reacted to the Back to the Future trilogies. Lots of different stuff on there. If you're interested, links are there. If not, let's jump into this.
This video is made possible by Brilliant. Learn something new every day for 20% off by being one of the first 200 people to sign up at brilliant.org/reallifelore. Okay, answer this question fast. How many countries are there in the world? There isn't really any exactly correct answer because your answer pretty much depends on who's asking the question. The United Nations lists 193 countries as members. The International Olympic Committee lists 206 member countries. Meanwhile, FIFA football lists 211 countries as members. Okay. The United States government would say there's 196 countries. The Russian government would say 197. Pakistan would say 192.
So FIFA has... Wait, what was the first ones again? Just go back, and I wasn't really listening to the ones before FIFA.
Nations lists 193 countries as members. The International Olympic Committee lists 206 member countries. Meanwhile, FIFA football... So
FIFA recognizes the most countries. So some of the countries FIFA recognizes, the rest, like, that doesn't make sense. Wait, what? Well, it does make sense, but I'm trying to think of what countries that FIFA will recognize that the US won't, or other countries won't. I'm trying to think. Small countries. I can't really think, to be honest. I can't think actually. Anyway, let's just jump into it. Would be political countries, I assume.
Because...
Wait, so this isn't to do with conspiracies then? This is just to do with countries that aren't recognised. That's a bit of clickbait. I mean, that's more the theme of the channel, but I wasn't expecting that.
Of these 15 awkward places. Right. Places that by pretty much every conventional definition are actual functioning.
So this is Somalia, Israel, which we all know about that. So this will be... So... I'm trying to think. So this is Ukraine, this is Moldova, this is Romania, this is Serbia here or here? I think Serbia's here. So Albania or Bosnia, or it's one of those countries that I can't think of. Georgia, China. Oh wow, I don't know what this one is. Is this just the Sahara Desert?
In countries, but which to all...
I can't hear it.
Various extents have only limited international recognition for a whole bunch of different geopolitical reasons.
Well, Taiwan there,
so,
actually,
beginning from the most recognized down to the least, these are the 15 most awkward and controversial places to call a country in the world. We're starting this list off with South Korea, which has been fully independent now for 73 years and is a full member of the United Nations, but is very publicly unrecognized by one other UN member state with a population of more than 25 million people.
North Korea?
North Korea. This is because North Korea claims the entirety of the Korean peninsula and has never recognized South Korea's authority or legitimacy to rule over the peninsula's southern half. But since South Korea is recognized by all of the other 191 UN member states, her legitimacy isn't really that much in question compared with any of the other states that are on this list. Next up is the People's Republic of China, or PRC, a UN member state and
who doesn't recognize China?
One of only 5 permanent members of the United Nations Security Council, who is unrecognized by 15 other UN member states, 1 UN observer, and 1 non-UN state. 15 UN member states withholding recognition may seem like a pretty big deal, but most of these are just pretty tiny countries. In order of largest population to smallest, they are Guatemala, Haiti, Honduras, Paraguay, Nicaragua, Eswatini, Bhutan, Belize, and the tiny island countries of St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Marshall Islands, St. Kitts and Nevis, Palau, Nauru, and Tuvalu, followed up by the UN Observer State of the Holy See or Vatican City. The largest and the most significant place who refuses to recognize the People's Republic, however, is the Republic of China or ROC, otherwise known as Taiwan, and they are the reason for all of this controversy. The PRC on the mainland and the ROC on the island of Taiwan each claim to be the sole legal government and representative for all of China on the international stage, and each pursue their own version of the One China policy, meaning that every country in the world is given a binary choice. Either recognize the PRC or the ROC as China, but not both. As a result, neither the PRC or ROC recognize each other. Nearly the entire world recognizes the significantly larger and more influential PRC, while only 14 UN member states and the Holy See have publicly chosen to side with the smaller and less influential ROC. Meanwhile, Bhutan chose the Chad way out of this conundrum and is the only country who refuses to recognize either government, and is there.
It's pretty bold to say that when you're literally bordering China. Gotta respect it. That is wild.
Therefore, the only country in the world who doesn't recognize the existence of China in any capacity.
Wow.
Altogether, that's only about 78 million people whose governments do not recognize the People's Republic of China. And there's a lot more controversial countries from there. Next up on our list is the Republic of Cyprus, another UN.
See, this is one. I mean, there's like a split, right, of like these two sides. I don't know. Is this just Cyprus here and then the Republic of Cyprus? If that's the case, then I think so. Wait, with this being split, when like people who live here, they will literally have it as two countries. So this will be like the Cyprus that I know of, like Nicosia and Limassol. Is that in Cyprus? I'm trying to flex my geography knowledge based off just football teams that I know. But yeah.
UN member state who isn't recognized by one other UN member state and one non-UN member, Turkey and the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. The Republic of Cyprus claims sovereignty over the entire island of Cyprus, but back in 1974, a military coup d'etat occurred within Cyprus that aimed to unite the island with Greece. Turkey promptly invaded the island to stop that from happening, expelled the ethnic Greeks who lived there, and set up the self-proclaimed Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus upon that territory. The Republic of Cyprus does not recognize the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus as being legitimate, and in response, Turkey and her population of more than 82 million has refused to recognize the Republic of Cyprus.
Jeez.
Next up is the Republic of Armenia, yet another UN member state.
Damn, Georgia. I got Armenia and Georgia mixed up. Goddamn.
Who is unrecognized by one other UN member state, but it's someone that you probably wouldn't expect. Pakistan. Pakistan's beef here is that Armenia and Azerbaijan have both been practically at war with each other for decades ever since their independence, and Pakistan has chosen to align themselves with Azerbaijan by refusing to recognize Armenia. Now, several other countries have allied with Azerbaijan as well, like Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Yemen, who have all severed their diplomatic relations with Armenia, but they still at least recognize Armenia's existence. Even Azerbaijan recognizes that Armenia exists, but not Pakistan. Since Pakistan's population is huge, that's 216 million people whose government doesn't recognize the existence of Armenia. Following Armenia is North Korea, a UN member state who's in a similar situation as South Korea, but with even less recognition because 3 UN members and 1 non-UN member are denying them any. Just like the North, South Korea also claims the entirety of the Korean peninsula and has never recognized the North's authority or legitimacy to rule over the northern half. And in a show of solidarity, neither does Japan, France, or Taiwan, making
France doesn't recognize North Korea. Damn, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that at all.
up a total of 269 million people whose governments do not recognize them. Let's just move on from there to the really controversial part of this video and dive straight into...
Here we go. And in terms of siding and like recognizing the country, I don't actually know what the split is.
Israel and Palestine.
A lot of Muslim countries, I assume, will not recognize Israel, and a lot of Western countries are recognizing Israel. And then Palestine, who recognise Palestine as a country and who don't. That's going to be fascinating as well.
Israel is a member of the United Nations, but is presently unrecognized by 28 other UN member states, and that number is changing all the time. Back in 1948, the present-day states of Israel and Palestine were each part of a British mandate. The British decided to divide the land between an independent Jewish state and an independent Arab state, but it went rather sloppy. Immediately upon Israel's founding, the entire Arab and most of the Islamic world took the position that the state was founded upon Arab land taken from the Arab Palestinians by the British and universally refused to recognize Israel's existence. As the Cold War intensified, the Americans backed the Israeli cause, while the Soviets backed the Palestinian and Arab cause, which led to nearly the entire communist Eastern Bloc withdrawing their recognition from Israel as well. For its entire existence, East Germany always refused to acknowledge Israel's existence as well, because unlike West Germany,
East Germany, that's crazy because Germany's proper on the side of Israel, isn't it? But I guess at this point in time, it was not. It was basically just the USSR in control, right?
Germany, the East German government refused to ever pay any reparations to the Jewish victims of Nazi Germany, and recognizing Israel necessitated paying those reparations, while Israel itself refused relations with Spain for a very long time because of her longtime dictator Francisco Franco, who had maintained a close friendship with Adolf Hitler and Nazi Germany throughout the Second World War.
Jeez.
Finally, after the Yom Kippur War of 1973, Arab nations enacted an oil embargo against all foreign countries who recognized Israel's existence, owing to Israel's occupation of all of the Palestinian Arab territories, which led to widespread severing of relations across Africa and the developing world. By 1975, Israel was widely unrecognized across Africa, the Middle East, Europe, and Asia, but
even in Europe. Oh, wow.
Israeli and American diplomacy, along with massive geopolitical shifts, would dramatically change.
It's crazy how that countries' opinions are all just financial, isn't it? Like, they'll get these restrictions, then it's financial, so they'll be like, oh yeah, we don't recognize or we do recognize. That's what it's all about, isn't it?
That over the next several decades. In 1979, Egypt broke ranks with the rest of the Arab world by becoming the first Arab state to recognize Israel in exchange for the return of the Sinai Peninsula, which Israel had previously seized during the Six-Day War of 1967. By 1986, Franco was long dead, and Spain became the final country of Western Europe to recognize Israel. By the 1990s, the Soviet Union had collapsed, and Eastern Europe, along with China, finally got around to recognizing Israel as well. Jordan became the second Arab state to recognize Israel in 1994. Israel managed to convince Guinea to recognize them in 2016 by assisting them with their Ebola epidemic. Chad restored relations in 2019, while the United States helped to convince the United Arab Emirates, Bahrain, Sudan, and Morocco to become the next 4 Arab countries to recognize Israel in 2020. Today, the 28 UN countries who continue to not recognize Israel in order of population are Indonesia, Pakistan, Bangladesh, Iran, Algeria, Iraq, Saudi Arabia, Afghanistan, Malaysia, Yemen, Venezuela, North Korea, Niger, Mali, Syria, Somalia, Tunisia, Cuba, Libya, Lebanon, Oman, Kuwait, Mauritania, Qatar, Djibouti, Comoros, Brunei, Maldives, and Seychelles, with a combined population of more than 1.16 billion people. Alongside the controversy surrounding Israel is the controversy surrounding the state of Palestine, which claims the areas of the West Bank, East Jerusalem, and the Gaza Strip, all 3 of which are presently and effectively under Israeli occupation or blockade. Palestine is the first country on this list which is not a full member state of the United Nations, but is instead a UN observer state, a position they've only held for 9 years since 2012. The Palestinian state is presently unrecognized by 55 UN member states with a combined population of 1.24 billion people, primarily consisting of North America, Western Europe, Israel itself, Australia, New Zealand, Japan, and South Korea. On the other side, Palestine is recognized by 138 UN member states.
Damn, so we're massively in the minority here, which is, I mean, I don't know in terms of population, most likely so as well, because you've got India and China alone, which are 2 billion plus. So yeah, massive. Pakistan as well, Russia, a lot of people as well. That is so fascinating.
Including the entirety of the Arab and Islamic worlds, South America, China, India, and most of Eastern Europe. Palestine is the final state on this list that is recognized by the majority of the world's governments and peoples. So moving on from there, we arrive next to Kosovo in Europe.
Kosovo, that's the one. God damn it. This is a very new country as well. God damn it, I got it wrong. I knew Kosovo was a new country, I just wasn't on my mind.
With a population of nearly 2 million people, Kosovo declared independence from Serbia 13 years ago in 2008. Serbia has refused to ever recognize Kosovo as an independent sovereign state and has continued to claim it as just an autonomous Serbian province this entire time.
Damn.
Despite that though, 97 UN member states representing a combined population of around 2 billion people presently do recognize Kosovo as a fully independent nation, including several big countries like the United States, Canada, Japan, Saudi Arabia, Germany, and France. However, most of the world has taken the Serbian position that Kosovo is simply one of their own rebellious provinces.
Wait, so let's see the countries again, because Kosovo's again, it's all like to do, for me, that's like political, right? So Kosovo's it's a predominantly Muslim country, right? And I'm just trying to look at like Muslim countries, and a lot of them don't see it as a country, which is so fascinating to me. I just thought those political views would just put it in that sense of, oh, they would just see it as a country, but that's not the case.
Fully independent nation, including several big countries like the United States, Canada, Japan. Kosovo is simply one of their own rebellious provinces. One of the most notable standout countries who takes this position is Spain, the lone holdout of Western Europe who probably doesn't want to recognize a successful independence in Serbia, while other countries like Russia probably don't recognize Kosovo for very similar reasons. The next least recognized place that may be a country is the Sahrawi Arab Democratic
Okay, yeah, I've never heard of this in my life.
Republic, or SADR. They claim the entire territory of Western Sahara in Africa as their own sovereign territory, which is in staunch opposition to Morocco's claim of also the entirety of Western Sahara. This is all because, up until 1975, Western Sahara was occupied by Spain when they finally gave it up. Morocco invaded the territory and claimed it for themselves, while the Sahrawi nationalist movement began a war of independence against them. In practice, most of Western Sahara is presently controlled and occupied by Morocco, while only a narrow strip along the interior is actually controlled by the SADR. The SADR's claim to statehood over Western Sahara is presently only recognized by 43 UN member states.
I've never even heard of it before. And it's still a lot of countries.
The largest supporters of which are the weird grouping of Mexico, Iran, Nigeria, South Africa, Ethiopia, Algeria, Syria, Vietnam, and North Korea. At the same time, the only other country in the world which recognizes Morocco's claim to Western Sahara is the United States, who pretty much only does so because, in 2020, they negotiated a deal to do so in exchange for Morocco finally recognizing Israel. Most of the world's countries take an ambiguously neutral stance on who is actually the legitimate authority in Western Sahara so as not to piss anyone off, which is mostly why you always see it marked out as gray on most world maps. Moving on next is the aforementioned Republic of China, aka Taiwan. The ROC used to be a member of the United Nations, but they were expelled from it in 1971 and replaced with the People's Republic of China. The ROC continues to claim being the sole legitimate government of all of China, but presently only controls the island of Taiwan. The 14 UN members who continue not recognizing the PRC of course recognize the ROC instead, in addition to the Holy See. Although the ROC maintains very limited official recognition, they possess the world's 21st largest economy that's similar in size to Turkey, with a population of more than 23 million people.
It's the flipping the chips, right? All of those chips just, I mean, it's probably not just that, but that's obviously a big part of the economy, I assume, because I didn't know it would be that high up.
ROC maintains unofficial ties with more than 50 UN member states across the world, including the United States, who in 2010 negotiated a deal to sell $6.4 billion of weapons to them, which makes them seem an awful lot like a pretty legitimate country. Anyway, moving on from there are both the Republic of South Ossetia and the Republic of Abkhazia, two breakaway states of Georgia which declared their independence in 1992 in 1993. Today, they are only recognized by the same 5 UN member states: Russia, Venezuela, Syria, Nicaragua, and Nauru, while tiny Vanuatu evidently believes that while South Ossetia isn't a country, Abkhazia is, which gives them ever so slightly more international recognition. Russia, though, is the primary supporter of both countries' legitimacy with her population of more than 140 million.
So when they see it as a country, right, they see, like, on the map, they'll see it as its own country and they'll have its own map for it and stuff. So they just have different world maps, pretty much. That's so fascinating to me.
Which has led some to argue that both are almost just de facto Russian protectorates. Nearly every other UN member, however, continues taking the Georgian position that both South Ossetia and Abkhazia are merely rebellious provinces of Georgia. The next least recognized state is the aforementioned Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus, which occupies about the northern third of Cyprus Island. Not surprisingly, this republic is only recognized by a single UN member.
just Turkey. Wow.
Turkey, with a population of about 82 million, which has led to similar accusations that Northern Cyprus is basically just a Turkish protectorate. Next up is the Republic of Artsakh, the final place on this list that is recognized as a country by an actual UN member. In this case, a single one, Armenia. Artsakh is the government which controls the ethnically Armenian Karabakh region surrounded by Azerbaijan, and every other UN member in the world besides Armenia considers Karabakh to be basically just a rebellious province of Azerbaijan. The 14th least recognized country on this list is Transnistria, which declares...
This is in... I know about this. This is in Moldova. Fuck, I know this one. I literally went to Romania and I spoke to my girlfriend's dad about this, I think. Moldova? I'm trying to think. So this is Romania and this is Moldova. I think it's in Moldova. Moldova/Romania anyway, I think.
Declared independence from Moldova back in the early 90s and is located between the Dniester River in the west and the Ukrainian border.
Damn! Ukraine, Moldova, not Romanian Moldova. I was close enough. God damn it, man.
East. Nearly 500,000 people live inside of Transnistria, and they maintain their own independent government, military, police, and laws and flag that is all wholly separate from Moldova. Despite that, though, not a single UN member recognizes Transnistria as an independent country, although 3 countries who do have some UN member recognition do recognize them: the aforementioned Abkhazia, South Ossetia, and Artsakh, who all maintain a policy of recognizing one another. So since Russia recognizes Abkhazia and South Ossetia, and Armenia recognizes Artsakh, and all 3 of those countries recognize Transnistria, they have some kind of legitimacy at least. But after that, the final state with very limited recognition on this list is the Republic of Somaliland, which
Somaliland, not Somalia. God damn it.
A brutal 7-year-long war of independence.
See, I hear about this. I don't really understand it. I've heard of Somaliland and I've heard of Somalia. I don't really understand. I know this part of the world, the people here go through a lot, to say the least. But I don't really know the history and, like, the sort of the split of Somaliland and Somalia.
Independence from Somalia, which saw hundreds of thousands of deaths. In 1991, Somaliland declared unilateral independence from the rest of Somalia based upon the borders of the very short-lived 5-day-long Republic of Somaliland, which did exist in 1960 after gaining independence from Britain and before joining up with the rest of Somalia. For all intents and purposes, Somaliland today is a pretty much fully independent country, just like Transnistria. She has a population of nearly 6 million people. She has her own completely independent and separate democratic government who operates elections entirely outside of the rest of Somalia. But despite all of that, there isn't a single other country or UN member state who has ever officially recognized them. And Somalia, meanwhile, continues to claim them as just an autonomous province of Somalia, similar to how Serbia continues to claim Kosovo or how Georgia continues to claim South Ossetia. Despite all of that, though, there are 6 UN member states who do maintain consulates and unofficial relations with Somaliland: Ethiopia, Kenya, Djibouti, the United Arab Emirates, Turkey, and Denmark. But because there isn't any official recognition just yet, not even from non-UN members who have UN member recognition like Transnistria has, Somaliland is the least recognized country on the planet that's definitely still very much so a country. Well, unless you consider Afghanistan right now, which so far since the Taliban took over, no other country has officially recognized either. But I think that's a tale for another time.
Jesus.
So, yeah.
This was fascinating. I was a bit disappointed when I was thinking, oh, it's not about the conspiracies, but this is actually a lot more interesting. I feel like I've learned a lot about regions of the world that I had no clue about.
Counting up how many countries there are is a pretty complicated and pretty controversial business. And none of this is all to even mention the dozens of other places around the world that have even less recognition than these 15. Counting up everybody who's ever claimed to have created a country gets complicated quickly, and in a way, that's pretty much just how math works in general. The more and more you start learning, the more complicated.
This is getting into an ad. Come on, secure in the bag. This is 2 years ago, so this isn't really showing it. It takes balls to be a tiny country right next to China. Fucking hell. That was what I was thinking. It's a small little country of Bhutan saying, yep, we don't recognise China. Come on, I respect it. I mean, you got to respect the balls on that. This is so entertaining. Geopolitics is so complicated and petty at all the same time. As a Taiwanese, I know that there are many people in the world who don't even know the existence of Taiwan, let alone some countries that don't recognise Taiwan. It feels good to live in a country recognised by everyone. Yeah, that's true. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. This is an interesting little look into, I guess, yeah, the geopolitics of the world and just how different countries recognise different things because it benefits them financially or because of political agreements or just, yeah, just whatever it is. But yeah, that's that. And yeah, until next time, like, subscribe, peace.